Welcome back. All right, yes, I'm back. I'm back on the set. It's been a bit, but I'm here. And there's a new Doctor Who picture back here. Of course, that's Candace Patton from The Flash, which returned. I haven't seen the season premiere yet. I'll be checking that out pretty quick. And yeah, so the pictures continue to multiply a bit. Now, there's a cheat that's going to be on the way where I have a new picture coming from her, which is going to be addressed to the hockey guys, so I can put it on the regular set from Tala Ash. So there you go. I have to kiss up to him so he lets me continue staying in his house. All right, so welcome back to the Entertainment Guide channel, and I want to talk about two movies I've rewatched. Do you know what's interesting is when movies don't age well, when movies age really, really poorly, and you're like, this is not something that is as funny as I remember it, and I don't remember all of the racist undertones here. So I watched, last week, Yvonne and I watched Bubble Boy, because she'd never seen Bubble Boy, with Jake Gyllenhaal, Marley Shelton, Swoozie Kurtz. Swoozie Kurtz steals every single scene that she's in. That's a rule. She is absolutely fantastic in everything she's in, and so that won't be a surprise to anybody. And then today, while I was doing the treadmill thing that I do every day, the 5 miles, I watched Office Space. And so I have to say, it's aged really well. Now, the thing with Office Space, and I've got the jersey right here from Geeky Jerseys as well, which is right here. So there you see the Staplers and Wadhams. That's Milton's last name, and it's a 00 because, of course, the whole movie is... It's really a movie about Milton. Peter's the main star, and you know, he gets Jennifer Aniston without really doing anything, because that's what they like to do, is give false hope to regular guys like myself that, hey, you could have had Jennifer Aniston in the 90s. Really, all I had to do is just walk up and talk to her. Yeah, then she'll just go out with you. Wow, that's so easy. Doesn't work that way in reality. In the 90s, it wouldn't have worked that way either. But with Office Space, I think it's aged very well. But I want to talk about that a little more in depth after I discuss Bubble Boy, because I have less to say with Bubble Boy. Otherwise, I would have probably done a video strictly on that one and just left it at that. Bubble Boy has not aged that well. I did get a kick out of Swoozie Kurtz and some of the... I mean, it's heavy-handed how they kind of tell you she's a Republican, and you know, the Nixon and Reagan photos on the wall, and all the Republican presidents. But honestly, when she realizes that her son's got a crush on the girl next door, and she adds, and then he left his bubble for the whore next door, and he died, still makes me laugh really, really hard. And then when Marley's character, you know, goes into his room and he says, "Oh, you're the whore next door," absolutely, just still to this day, it's one of the funniest things. And this movie reminded me of a few things. First off, Jake Gyllenhaal, I thought he was fantastic. I loved him in that movie. I loved him in Donnie Darko after that. And yeah, it reminds me why I really enjoyed that. It also reminded me just how early 2000s the soundtrack for the movie was. Kind of beats you over the head with it. It's back when every band sounded like Blink-182. It drove me insane. I was like, okay, seriously, all of these bands sound exactly the same. You can't make fun of the 80s when all of your bands sound exactly the same. They're all punk junior. All of them would say, that, "Oh, we have punk roots and we all listen to The Clash." Yeah, I can tell. And you took all the heart and soul out of it and you corporate it up, and then there you go. That's one thing that's noticeable. And of course, it reminded me that back in the late 90s, I loved Marley Shelton. She was fantastic. Early 2000s. I loved her from that movie, and I loved her from Planet Terror. Now, Planet Terror was the first half of the Grindhouse movie that flopped. It bombed. But Planet Terror on its own, and if you have the DVD, and if you watch it, you have to watch it with the crowd reaction, where they had a premiere audience that they recorded their reactions to everything, and it makes the movie so much more entertaining, because I tried to watch it on TV the other night without the crowd reaction, because they had it on demand, on our on-demand service through TELUS. It's not the same. I was like, I can't watch this, doesn't have the crowd reaction, I don't care. It makes the movie. But yeah, Marley Shelton, loved her in both of those movies, and yeah, it's there's no character development. It goes out of its way to be offensive at times, and yes, there are some jokes. I'm like, oh, I don't know if you could have that in there anymore. I don't think if you remade this movie, that character can't be in there at all. So there's some of that in there, but and that character can't be in there. Oh, and then that no, but you could tweak it. You could still make it pretty funny if you made the movie now. So there's that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I would still say it's a 7 out of 10 if I had to grade it, and yeah, still. And with Marley Shelton, the third movie of hers was The Getaway, which is one of the greatest chase movies in history. Keely Sanchez, Mila Jovovich, Timothy Oliphant is absolutely fantastic in that movie. Because, of course, and if you haven't seen The Getaway, or Perfect Getaway, I can't recommend it enough. I'm pretty sure I reviewed The Perfect Getaway on this channel at some point. It's fantastic. It surprised me at how good that movie was. And again, Marley Shelton, fantastic. Oh, Chris Hemsworth's in that one too. And he's just a, bit player in it, basically. Who knew? At the time, we didn't know. At the time, he was just seen as, well, he's an actor that looks good, and we can throw him in this movie. Nobody, I think, had any idea at the time that he was going to be the massive star later on. I think we all would have banked on Timothy Oliphant coming out of that movie. But anyways, yeah, so Bubble Boy, highly recommend. And then with Office Space, so yes, it is about the Y2K software. They're updating the Y2K software. None of that matters. It doesn't matter what their job is. It doesn't matter what they do. The movie's focus is one thing. People should not be sitting in cubicles all day staring at their computer screens. And I felt that so much. And I did that for years. And there are moments in this movie that I still find myself saying, you know what, I've enjoyed this, and I kind of lived that a little bit. So I remember when I quit my job that I'd had for 7 years, that I remembered the movie when Peter walks around Lumberg, where Lumberg's, Peter, what's happening? And he just walks around him like he's not even there. Doesn't say anything rude, nothing nasty, just walks around him. And you see Lumberg going. And I never quite did that, because in real life you can't just walk around your boss. Even if you're quitting, don't do that. But that feeling of, you're not the boss now, I'm good. I'm not gonna, just listen to everything you're saying right now, because I'm not gonna be bothered with your BS. I've experienced that a couple of times, and I've always thought of Peter when I do it. I've found myself humming anytime I quit a job. I found myself humming Take This Job and Shove It from that movie. And I've had the experience with a printer or a copier where you just want to pitch it out the window. And I remember working at the call center I was at, and at one point somebody said, legit, goes over to the copier and says, why does it say Paper Jam? And everybody right away goes into Office Space. We don't try to help the person. You just start reciting that line. You and me both, man. Things lucky I'm not armed. Like, you go through the whole thing. And it's one of those movies that, even though I've memorized most of the dialogue, it's still great. It's fantastic. There are moments where I identify with Peter. There are moments like, I'm kind of Michael in parts of my life. That's kind of the moment in the movie where he goes, I've been a free man. I'm a free man. I haven't had a conjugal visit in 6 months. I laughed so hard at that, because, yeah, the idea of, hey, if we go to prison, we can have conjugal visits. I haven't had one in 6 months, and I'm free. Like, it shows how ridiculous that is, and it's funny and it's relatable. The characters in that movie are relatable. And when Peter's a jerk in the movie, it doesn't reward him for it. He very nearly goes to jail, and he's only bailed out because of Milton, of all things. I can't recommend enough that if people haven't seen that movie, that they watch it. And I realize now that it's been over 20 years since it came out. I know it doesn't feel like 20 years, but it's been over 20 years, so I understand there may be a lot of people who haven't seen it. I can't recommend it enough. It works on so many levels for people who are really angry at their jobs, for people who work in a cubicle, for people who work in a dead-end job, don't like it. You may identify with Joanna, which is Jennifer Aniston's character working as a waitress. There are so many things in the movie that are identifiable. One thing too that I was struck by was that, in watching it now, is the movie never had a sequel. The movie didn't have any big. Um, it didn't have a big star. Like, I know Jennifer Aniston's a big star, and she was then too, but it was not built around her. And it wasn't a movie that got like huge marketing. It wasn't a movie that was seen as, future blockbuster. It's a good movie, and it didn't need a sequel, and it didn't need to be a part of a franchise, and it's clever, and it's not over. Like, there are moments in this which are kind of offensive, but I have to say, still one of my favorite moments is that Michael Bolton, the character, that he's always listening to rap music, he's always singing rap music, and yet when there is a young black guy walking by the car, he stops singing and he locks the door. And I thought, that's accurate for some people, like that. And that I understood, and I didn't take that as anything offensive. And that's one of those moments that I don't know if you could put that in a movie now without people getting really upset. But there's little moments like that. I think the Samir character is well rounded out. I don't think there's a caricature in that. I laugh at Samir, especially him being upset, like, Nai Nanaja. How hard is it to say it? Nai Nanaja. It's easy. And yeah, to him it would be easy, and to everybody else it's not gonna work here anymore. Like, the two Bobs are great. Everything about it's fantastic. I remember when I was watching the movie the first time, and one of the Bobs was the guy who played Paul on Cheers. I'm old, remember? And I was like, oh, it's Paul. Oh, that's fantastic. Because Paul was very relatable on Cheers. Sometimes you'd forget he was there. And he was Paul. So, yeah. Again, for anybody who may not have seen it, and I have a hard time believing there are people who haven't seen it, watch it. It's one of the funniest, most quotable movies for me. I still quote it plenty. And there's little bits from every character, and having worked different jobs now, I identify with certain parts of almost every character in the movie, and that day-to-day thing. And I remember one thing that struck me too was in a movie that's just kind of this throwaway comedy to some, the moment that always stuck with me was when Jennifer Aniston's character, says, most people don't like their jobs, but you have to find something you enjoy. Like, you have to, if you don't enjoy your job, find something else you do. And I know that kind of stuck with me, and that from that day going forward, I always had something in my life that would distract me from how much I may have disliked my job at the time. Where I was like, okay, I really don't want to go, but I'm going to go. I'm going to work the full 8 hours. I'm going to grit my teeth, deal with people I may not like, do jobs I may not enjoy. I may end up being forced to work overtime, but after I'm done my work, I leave it behind, and I do something I really like. And I find some kind of a joy from this. Maybe on payday, I say, hey, I've earned, and then I buy myself something. And I know when I was single back in the days before I had kids, I would always make sure that on payday I would, I'd treat myself a little bit. And I'd say, okay, I worked really hard this week. I didn't flake out. I didn't take a day off. Maybe I did a job that I normally don't do. Are you coming up or no? You coming up? I fixed it. Come on, I fixed it. He'd almost knocked this over, so I had to fix it. Come on, Dopey. But I had to find something that I enjoyed, and something that made it feel like, okay, so I've got this crap job, but at the end of the week I can do this. And what affords me the right to do that and the ability to do that is the money I've made at that crappy job. Now, of course, as a YouTuber, I don't have that problem. I greatly enjoy my job. It is a job that I do every day of the year. But it's a job that I'm very grateful that I have, and it affords me a chance to talk to people all over the world, like through videos like this, and so I'm very grateful. But it's nice to watch a movie like that and sort of identify with how things were and how things worked. Can you not get up? Can you not get up, or are you just being ridiculous? I think he's just being ridiculous. I think he can still get up. I'm pretty sure he can still get up. I didn't move it that far over, did I? I don't think so. All right, I don't want to break it. Oh, he's breaking it. Oh, look at that. Yeah, he has too. Wow, okay. All right, I'm going to have to fix that. Anyways, because he's going to snap it. Okay, I thought this was stronger than that, but apparently not. Shadow's heavy enough to break it and snap it, so I better fix it before that happens. Okay, but by all means, let me know in the comments section below. I'd be really interested to know which movie have you watched that's maybe from the 80s or 90s that you watch now and you go, oh, this has aged really, really badly. Or one that you've watched and said, you know what, this has aged really well. This movie's still really good. Maybe the early 2000s. Like for Bubble Boy, I think it was 2001. That was when MTV was making a bunch of movies. And some of them were good. Some of them were MTV movies that weren't very good. But let me know in the comment section below examples of either or both. And recommendations, that kind of thing. I do have a lot of movies here. I will say too that Disney Plus has now added a bunch of other movies to their collection. Like they've added movies that are for adults rather than just for the kids. They added this whole brand new section, and it's got me considering dropping some of my own cable because I really don't think we're going to use it very much anymore because we've got Disney Plus, we've got Netflix, and we've got Amazon Prime. So, oh, and I did get my wife to watch Rubber with me the other day, a couple weeks ago. If you haven't watched Rubber, it's about a tire that kills people. That's it. That's the whole. And it's the ultimate stuff just happens movie, and I loved it, and I think I watched it for her reactions as much as anything else, and it was great again. And I was like, this is a great experience. I think that movie's aged well too because it's about a tire killing people, so it's kind of timeless and pointless and funny, and it's only an hour and 20 minutes, so it doesn't waste time, and I appreciate movies that don't waste time. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. And yes, eagle-eyed viewers, I do now have a Milwaukee Brewers jersey, which is a Yelich jersey. It was on sale. It was on lids. And since it's a baseball jersey, I didn't have to pay for customs that ships in Canada. Yeah, the stuff that ships in Canada that's hockey related, it's good if you want Canadian teams. You want the American teams, you're going to have to ship from NHL.com. And that's less fun. But if you want baseball, everything is in Canada. I don't understand. I don't get it. All right. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.